All right, everybody, we all know the backstory by now, right? After the Belgium game, John Herdman was asked what he said in the scrum to his players, and he said, well, I told them they belonged. And then he went on and said, we're going to go F Croatia. Then he doubled down on his comments the next day, saying it's a new Canada, it's a new mindset. All right. So here's how one Croatian paper responded. Oh. You have the mouth, but do you have the balls as well? With an illustration of Herdman's head on what appears to be the body of a 12-year-old boy and two Canadian flags that are not equal in size.
I was told that those photos would be kept private.
Poor Ollie. Look at that. So nasty. What does KJ have to say about this?
We remain a number of hours away from Sunday's crucial clash between Canada and Croatia here at Khalifa International Stadium, but we can't keep Canada out the news here in the media at Qatar 2022. It is match day -2. There are games going on. There are records being broken, but Canada continues to be talked about and written about here by the media. John Herdman versus Croatia has become a big storm, certainly in Croatia amongst the tabloids. You've now seen that and talked about it on your show. And it continues to be parts of the gossip that happens here in the media center. Many people wanting to know why this has happened. Is it calculated? Is it something that has been blown out of proportion? Certainly the tabloids do that. That's their job. And in a World Cup, when you're looking for stories, there's a lot of time, a lot of minutes, a lot of hours, and a lot of columns to be filled between games. Croatia have found that way. I don't think it was John Herdman's plan to make sure that was the case, and I'm not quite sure I believe that it was the case to take the attention off his players. John Herdman certainly would like to talk more about his players and, of course, his tactical plan against Belgium, because they were certainly right to be in the headlines. Many people are now not talking about that, which I think is unfortunate, but it is a big story here, and if you were on the fence before this about whether you thought it was a good idea for John Herdman, but you want more people talking about Canadian soccer, then you'll be happy to see that this has become a big talking point here at the World Cup. The other one is Alistair Johnston to Celtic. It looks like it's a done deal, and if anybody thought that was just come together based on his performance against Belgium and Eden Hazard, they would be incorrect. Celtic have been monitoring Alistair Johnston for a number of weeks, and when people talk to me about him, this is what I say. This is a transfer match made in heaven. Alistair Johnston to Celtic is absolutely perfect. Celtic like players who work hard. Celtic like players who are going to run and be tactically versatile. Celtic like players who can be personalities, and he fits that mold perfectly. He will not drown in an environment like that. He'll be very ready for big games, and I think Alistair Johnston to Celtic, if it goes through, will be perfect for both sides. Johnston, like many of his players, continues to be monitored here. Keep an eye on Kamal Miller and other players as well as they continue to shine. Many scouts here as well talking about Canadians. Canada in the headlines on Friday at the World Cup. We'll live in a dream.
I am of the camp that it was not intentional by Herdman to say that to draw attention away from the team, but that's been the ripple effect, right? We're not sitting here talking a lot about the whole, was Davies right to take it? And it's so true, because when Carlo was on and talking about, just coming back from a hamstring injury, I just had flashbacks of Roberto Baggio and taking the kick in 94, where he shouldn't have, with the highly bandaged leg and the hamstring injury that he had and sent that way over the bar. But anyway, Jordan, this is still a talking point. And now everyone's saying, is Herdman going to look like a genius depending on the outcome of that game against Croatia, or is he going to fall flat on his face? Are you thinking that when you think of this quote?
I'm thinking he's already a genius. I think the way he's assembled this team, I think the way that he's coached them, I think the way that he's brought them here and he's galvanized this group, I think he's already a genius. I think that he said something to his team, which should be for his team, and someone asked him and he had a choice to either say, hey, let me go away from what I said, or let me just stick by it. Keep in mind, guys, you asked him this 2 minutes after he's just spoken to a team and felt like, man, we could have just got 3 points away from number 2 ranked Belgium. So he had a choice to be honest, or he had a choice to deviate and go away from what he said. And he said, no, of course, and I like it. Man, coaches have said a lot to me in the huddle. Obviously, I've never played in a World Cup or a game of that magnitude, but a lot is said that is very grimy and ugly in a huddle, and it's used to get guys on the same page. So I stand by him. I think it was a genius move, and I think also that Canada's going into this game as underdogs. I don't think all the stuff that we're talking about matters.
I also just would caution reporters, you can't ask a question and then be upset when you get the real answer. And then you can't also then accuse people of being vanilla. They always give us the 110% and we gave it our all. And then when they finally give us something, oh, no, but that's not what we wanted to hear. So you can't have it both ways is all I'm saying there. But Ollie, has Canada, in fact, become one of the biggest stories at the World Cup?
Well, I think in terms of becoming a big story, that was more to do with their performance, to be honest with you. I think we're talking about this. The Croatian media has obviously latched onto it now as well, as KJ outlines. But the big story with Canada in that first round of games, the reason why they were a big story was because they played brilliantly against Belgium in a way that no one expected, not just parking the bus and surviving, but taking the game to the world's #2 team. So I think that's still where the big story is with Canada. I actually think that Wheels and Carlo touched on something in the last segment, which I think is very relevant here, which is that it's extremely difficult to go from that Belgian performance and to repeat it and maintain your same level in the next game. And I think that's a little bit, the more I think about it, that's a little bit of what's at play here, is that you saw it even in the Belgium game. Towards the end of each half, Canada's physical levels started to drop a little bit. They started to feel tired. Now they've got to recover and do it again. And I think part of this is maybe a little bit of John Herdman trying to create like that siege mentality, that us against the worlds type of mentality that we've seen by stirring up some controversy. And now he's on the front page and being ridiculed by the Croatian media. I think a little bit of that going on as well as, you know, in terms of trying to find a physical level with the team that might be very difficult to just have if you were just going into the game without that little bit extra to motivate you.
Mm-hmm. We wondered.
Can I weigh in on this? And please just give me some time at some point of the show. I have some comments about the actual newspaper article. I think I might actually have the most salient take of how this actually played out.
Do tell us.
Because John stumbled on the word F. And it's the word F in the context of it that's got everyone up in arms. This wasn't a Masai Ujiri F Brooklyn type thing. He chose the word F because I think that's what he was saying in the huddle, but replace that word with mess Croatia up. Take it to them. Try to dominate them on the field like we did with Belgium. He regularly says this after the game. That's what he was sending a message to his players publicly, as well as the rest of the country. And the word F is the context of it, which I think most people are actually getting it wrong, is what's riled everyone up. Look,
well, that's why I made a point, Gareth. Right, I said the full quote is going to F them up, right? Like yes,
and it was reflective of the performance against Belgium. I find this hilarious that this has riled up Croatians who could maybe name 2 or 3 players on a Canadian. We're little Canada, and look at what we're doing. We're ruffling feathers. We've arrived. We matter. And that matters worldwide, Andy. This matters in this country. 3.5 million people tuned into the Canada game on a Wednesday afternoon. Guess what? If you're a Canadian, you hear the Canadian coach come out and say this, 4 million? 4.5 million. Like, what are we talking about? Because we need to understand that we're still building something in this country and rallying the troops both there and back home. I think it's genius. I'm not one to question John Herdman. It might have not come out in a perfect way. I find it very rich that even I see and hear people in the Canadian media slating John Herdman. Do you know what this guy has done for our country? And this is where sorry guys, just quick right here. The newspaper article asks if he has any balls. You tell me if this guy has intestinal fortitude. Doors closed on him in the UK. Comes out of the Sunderland Academy, moves across the globe to New Zealand, has to work his way up, fight, scrap, claw to get a coaching job with the women's team, does a great job, gets a better offer in Canada, makes our women a true contender each and every time they're on the field. He takes the risk in 2018. He signs up from a cushy job with the women to go challenge himself with a 94 ranked team in the world, one spot ahead the Faroe Islands. And in less than 5 years, he's made Canada the kings of CONCACAF. He's got them to a World Cup and has them that close from beating Belgium in a World Cup game. Does he have the balls? Are you kidding me? It's such a ridiculous headline. So it's ridiculous. This country backs John Herdman. He's a hero in this country. Does he have balls? Well, yeah, okay. Continue to ask that question.
So what I'm hearing here is you have issue with the size of the maple leaf that was used in the illustration. We're moving on. We're past that. Because here's one of the questions we had entering this tournament, obviously, was which Canadian was going to get some recognition here by some European clubs, get some interest. And there's been reports from Fabrizio Romano, who said there's actually a verbal agreement already in place for Alistair Johnston and Celtic. We are not going to discuss Alistair Johnston. And if never mind. How do you think he will do, Gareth?
I'll be really quick.
Is this good news? Is this a good fit?
I've taken up way too much time. I think he's going to do very well. Celtic's a great club, potential Champions League, European football, great launching spot as well for a lot of other players. And all of a sudden, the Scottish Premier League is a must-watch for Canadians. Canadians littered across that league. So I'm proud of him. Great guy. He'll fit in to a T.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing, Ollie, and I know you've really been mentioning this too. When you look at his meteoric rise and just where he's come from playing in like League One and, where he was in MLS and just getting to this point where this is the year, like he just got his first cap with Canada, right? Like part of this World Cup qualification and has made himself a mainstay in that back line.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. And I think Celtic is a great place for him. I agree. They've done a really good job at Celtic of identifying some nations maybe with undervalued players. They've done it with a few Japanese players who have been excellent for them. And I think Canada kind of fit the same description in that regard. So this is a testament, I think, as well to the evolution in Alistair's game this year. Celtic play a back four and they like their fullbacks to get forwards. So they wouldn't be signing him if they weren't confident in his ability to do that. And I think we've seen that evolution, particularly with Montreal this season, where he's played a lot of wing back. This is a guy we've always said is defensively excellent, just has great instincts, great ability at the back. I think he's added a lot to his game as an attacking fullback this year as well. And that's what's prompted this move. And like KJ mentioned in his piece there, this isn't something that's a reaction to the Belgium game. This has been in the works for a little while. And I don't think he'll be the last one to move on over the next couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to say something, Jordan?
Just the only thing I want to add is that the physicality of the Scottish Prem suits Alistair Johnston, like the way he plays, the way he gets stuck into tackles. Everyone knows in the UK, it's a grungy football, right? The worst placed team could be the best placed team just off of effort. So I think I'm excited for him to take that and bring it into the Canadian camp as well. I think this is a perfect step for him. Sometimes you can see players going maybe to a club and then they're not going to play. I know he's going to play week in, week out. I know he's going to play against great competition. And you're playing for like a working class club. This could really, really put him in the right stratosphere.